I was on a secluded road where I was like, whatever, I'm not going to hit anybody. All of a sudden, pothole comes out of nowhere, and I slam on the brakes, and bike goes sliding out from underneath me. I fall over, just destroy the side of this moped. Like brand new moped.
Alrighty, welcome back everyone. Welcome to Island Time. Super excited to have you back. Sean and I are keeping the trend going, and we want to get as many episodes out there to the world and you guys. And I think we have some cool topics kind of to discuss today, which is exciting. So
yeah, we're back with another one. Today we just want to get the content out there, just keep it going.
For sure.
I feel like the more episodes release, the more people will want to listen, and we have a couple guests lined up. We have Hafiz. You've seen him before on here. He's the pharmacist. He's done some really cool work lately. So we want to get him on there. And then we also want to get Professor Bruce Ballum back on. So he'll talk about his career and what's been going on with his life lately. I'll let him discuss all that stuff. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. So
yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And I think today we're kind of like going to talk a little bit about, I know you visited Mexico recently, which is pretty exciting. I know you got some cool kind of stories that you want to tell everyone. And then I think we were going to throw it back and do some fun AI content today too.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that a little later, but maybe go through your trip. Let's
So I went down to Mexico for a week. I went with one of my best friends, Grayson. I've known him since preschool. Shout out to Grayson Bush. We went down there. I flew down by myself. He had already been down there with his girlfriend for a week. And so I just decided to fly down by myself and then meet up with them. So I flew into Cancun on the Sunday, and I had a few hours to just kill by myself. And I had never been to Mexico before, so I was a little bit I felt a little bit on edge in a way, because I've only ever heard stories about the cartels and all these things that go down in Mexico. And since I wasn't staying in an all-inclusive, I was going to be traveling around the towns and kind of around all the communities and people. So I didn't know really what to expect. But right when I got there and I landed, I was still a little bit on edge because I didn't speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish whatsoever. And
you didn't pick it up when you were down there?
Come on, no, dude. It was actually terrible. Like, I realized how bad I was at Spanish. I did 2 Spanish courses, and I realized how bad I was once I got down there, and people would even ask me like how I'm doing, and I would panic, and I wouldn't be able to say how I was doing, and that's so basic.
Yeah.
Actually, side note, a lot of people would apologize to me because they didn't speak English, and I was thinking to myself, like, I told multiple people, I was like, you don't apologize to me. Like, I don't speak your language. I should be knowing your language when I come to your country. Like, it should not be the other way around.
Yeah.
So don't apologize. That's something I would love to learn is Spanish. I think it's the coolest language in the world. It just flows so nicely. And it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so yeah, I had gotten there on the Sunday. I had taken a red eye with Flair. Don't recommend doing that. I bought the extra leg room, and it was like an extra inch. I swear it was terrible.
That's funny.
And the chick beside me, she was able to sleep because she was able to like lean forwards onto the tray, and like she was short enough to do that. And I kept looking at her, and I was so jealous because every time I tried to like scrunch my way into it, my neck was like bending backwards or something. Anyway, so I got there and I was pretty tired because I didn't get a single drop of sleep. So the first thing I did is I hopped on the bus from Cancun to Playa del Carmen because that's where Grayson was going to be meeting me, and got breakfast, had a coffee, just kind of people watched the first little bit. And right when I had gotten out of the bus station, I was still nervous. Like, I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where, I'm using WhatsApp with Grayson, but I haven't heard from him in a bit. And he's like, just go to where the beaches are. And so I got off at the bus, and right when I turned the corner and I saw the beaches and I saw all the people and I saw volleyball being played and everything, I just became so relaxed. Everything just left, and all those anxious feelings were gone, just because it felt like, oh, I know this. I know the ocean. The ocean's right there. Like, I'm good. I know where I am.
Yeah.
so it got to people watch for a while, and then had my little time to myself. I had about 3 hours by myself. I went to a like kind of beach area where there was a hotel and people drinking on the beach. And so I went there and I was like, hey, can I just pull up and sit down? And they're like, yeah, sit down. And then I had a couple margaritas, waited for Grayson. He showed up with his girlfriend. We just kind of walked around and got some food, and then his girlfriend took off to the airport. We went back to Cancun, took the bus back, and I went to Isla Mujeres. It's this little island just outside of Cancun. Beautiful island, tiny little island, but so many people there. It was a very, very busy island. So
how do you get from there to the? Did you take a
we
boat?
took the ferry. Yeah.
Oh, there's a ferry.
They have a bunch of ferries. It's like not like monetized or what's that? Monopoly like BC ferries. They have multiple ferries. Like
so you go with
3
whoever.
different companies, whatever. So we got on that ferry, went over there. This was nighttime by this point, and we just immediately walked to our hostel, checked in, went had a drink at the bar, and then
get some drinks, man.
had to get some drinks. I know, and I was like, my plan was to be sober all the way up until my Mexico trip, so I hadn't had a drink or anything till that point.
Yeah.
And so having that first margarita was just so good. Yeah. It tasted so good, and it hit so hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, we checked in, and then we went and got some food, had some more drinks, and then we're like, hey, let's just go to bed so we can spend the day doing whatever the next day. We woke up, got breakfast, and then went to this hotel where they had golf carts to rent. And so we rented a golf cart and ripped around the whole island. Like the island, like I said, is small, so you can do the whole like loop in a matter of a few hours. So we just like toured the whole island. Got like a 6-pack of beers and had a couple road pops, and you drive on all the roads there. Like the roads are just pretty much motorcycles and golf carts. So super chill, not going super fast. You're going like, I don't know, 40K, 50K. So yeah, pulled over a few spots, was just taking pictures and just enjoying our time. And then we met this cool guy named Pablo. He was at a bar. He was a bartender there, and we were just talking about like what it's like to live in Mexico and what it's like to be from there. And then we ended up bringing back the golf carts. And then the next day, and then after that, we took the ferry back to Playa del Carmen, took a bus. And then we were like, hey, well, we need to go out. This is our one night that we're going to be able to go out, because our plan was to go to Cozumel, which is an island outside of Playa del Carmen, bigger than Isla Mujeres, but not like a huge night scene or anything. So we were like, okay, let's go out. Let's go have some fun. So we ended up going out, went to this one like kind of bar, like rooftop bar type situation, clubby thing. It was so cool in there. We were the only 2 white dudes in there and the only 2 who didn't speak Spanish.
Oh, damn.
Everybody that we talked to, because we were trying to talk to people, we just wanted to meet people and just like, you know, like have some sort of vibes from someone else.
Yeah.
And so every time we try and ask someone, like, do you speak English or anything? They would say like a little bit. Un capito.
It proves how bad your
shows
Spanish
you
is.
how much Spanish I know. Paquito.
Yeah.
So a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I actually, funny moment, I ended up talking to this one guy, and I had my phone out, and we were just using the translator app, and we were just talking in the club.
Damn.
And so we were like talking about where we're from and all this stuff. And anyways, we ended up getting each other's Instagrams, and now we follow each other. So I see what's going on in his life. And
shout out to that guy.
Hopefully
he sees.
Can't remember his name, but hopefully he sees it. And then so then we went back, and then we woke up early in the morning to take the ferry over to Cozumel, where Grayson's parents were. They were staying there for a couple months, renting a place. And Carl picked us up, and then we went to this incredible beach. Can't remember the name of it, but we ended up snorkeling around there. Dude, the snorkeling there is phenomenal. Like,
is it?
Oh yeah, it's like you're in an aquarium.
Oh,
like,
damn.
You got your like normal world, and then you take a look down below you, and there's just like thousands of different fish.
Crazy. Did you take photos underwater? Like,
Grayson had a GoPro.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah, he has GoPro footage. And then
would you trust putting your phone in the water?
I honestly, I brought a dry bag, but I didn't use it. I should have. I had like a little see-through dry bag, and I should have used it. But
yeah, that's a question. Like, technically iPhones these days are perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Submerged.
for sure.
But I'm still like scared to do it.
I'm not worried to do it in like a lake, but in the salt water,
Yeah,
I
fair.
didn't even open my eyes in the salt water. It was so salty.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, I didn't do that, but so we snorkeled that day, and then we went back, and the next day we were like, okay, let's rent some mopeds and go rip around the whole island. So we drove for like an hour out of town to this provincial park, beach area. You have to pay to go in, and it's, I don't know. Yeah, there's like a gate. I don't think you can bring like most vehicles down there. It's like mostly bikes and then little cars.
What kind of car? Did you rent a car? Or like...
No, we had the mopeds.
Oh,
so this is when we were ripping on the mopeds. And then, so it's crazy dirt road there, like so many potholes. So you're just trying to avoid everything. And I had a brand new scooter at the time. Like they had rented me a brand new scooter. So I was like worried that I was going to mess it up somehow. Well, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So then... Yeah, we get to this beach, and it is like paradise. It's straight out of a Corona commercial or a Cialis commercial where you see like two people running on the beach and then like someone POV with their margarita in their hand and their feet up, and it's just straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was incredible. So we hung out there for a few hours, did a little snorkeling. The snorkeling wasn't great there, but the view is amazing. And then we got back on the mopeds and we were ripping back. And oh man, I'm recording Grayson because I wanted to take a video of him ripping on the moped. So I start recording him, and this is a dirt road. Like there's nobody around.
So how fast do these? Did they go pretty quick?
These things go quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get up to, I got up to 85 or 90 or something on these
damn.
things. Yeah. So
this is, a lot of people just use this as their daily.
Oh yeah, like it's way more convenient.
These are like main vehicles.
Yes.
Type of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way more convenient than a car.
Yeah.
Honestly, like way more convenient. You can just pass everybody. You can kind of weave. You can do whatever you want in them. So yeah, we're on this dirt road, and so I start recording Grayson, and I start taking off. I start driving, which don't text and drive, but I was on a secluded road where I was like, whatever, I'm not going to hit anybody. All of a sudden, pothole comes out of nowhere, and I slam on the brakes, and bike goes sliding out from underneath me. I fall over, just destroy the side of this moped. Like brand new moped. I was worried because they pulled it out of like the showcase, like the one that they have inside the room.
See, that's foreshadowing, right?
Yeah.
Right in that moment, you should have been like, okay.
I know. I was kind of hoping they were like, do you want the good one or do you want the like mediocre one? And I was like, well, I want the good one. It's like $5 more, so come on.
Yeah.
And so I get the good one, and then I just destroyed the side of it. And in the moment, Grace and I were laughing. Like he looked back right when I crashed, and he was like dying of laughter. It was so funny. And then as the day goes on, as we're riding back, I start getting more and more in my head because I start thinking about the price tag on this thing, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like $750 American like deductible. And I started getting worried, and then more anxious as we got on. And Grayson could tell, like by the end of the night, like I knew that we were turning these mopeds in at 9:00 the next day, and that it was coming. It was coming.
A fat bill.
Yeah. And I didn't know how fat. I was like, are they going to charge me the full $750, which is $1,100 Canadian?
Yeah.
So we, and we still haven't told Carl and Laura about this. Like to this day, we haven't told really anyone.
No, they don't.
So maybe if they hear this podcast, maybe this is the reveal.
Surprise.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm just embarrassed. I'm like, I don't want to tell these guys that I just went and crashed a moped while, recording on my phone. That's so stupid. So Carl has no idea that we're that this has happened. And I was trying to, like, the night before, I'm out there with like a brush, and I'm trying to brush out all the sand and try and get the scratches like unnoticeable as possible, but I had cracked the whole side of it. Anyways, so Carl is following us to this what's it called, to the
rental place.
Yeah. And he's just going to pick us up because we're going scuba diving at 9:30. So we leave at 9:00 from the place. And I'm thinking to myself, this is way too close. This is like, we're not going to make it to scuba diving if there's any delay. We get there within like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And the whole ride there, I'm just panicking. I'm just getting more anxious and more anxious. I'm like, oh, these guys are going to rip me apart when I get there. And so, yeah, we get there. I walk past, I walk into the rental place, but I was supposed to leave the key with it or whatever. So I go back out there, and the two guys were already out there, and I was like hoping that maybe they didn't notice. Oh man, I come around the corner and their faces are like, like shocked, like shocked that I did that much damage to it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, I was like, I was going too fast and I slid out. And yeah, I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they like get their supervisor or whatever, and he comes over and he's looking at it and he's like, oh man. And this whole time I'm thinking, oh man, like so much money I'm about to spend. And so he says, okay, he pulls out this like sheet, and on the sheet has every single part and how much it costs. And so he's tallying up how much it's going to cost. And then he tells me, he's like, okay, it's 280 American. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Damn.
This whole time I'm thinking 750.
Yeah.
I'm like, 280s, I can work with this.
Here's your money.
I was like, done. I was like, take my money.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, we're not going to do it through insurance because it'll be more expensive. So we're just going to take it to a body shop and they'll fix it. Just give me cash. And so I was like, okay, I don't have much cash on me. Like I only had maybe 1,000 pesos on me. And then, so we're in the thing.
Wait, hold on. So you went there with not enough money to pay the 750?
No, I was just going to pay it on credit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Makes
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I was like, you're just walking.
But he wasn't taking credit. He refused credit because
he
didn't want to do it through insurance, and he would have had to like declare why he had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, I thought you were going to be, I only have $1,000. Sorry, man. Here you go.
No. So then, I'm like, Grayson, like, how much cash do you have on you right now? And he's like scrambling to get his cash out. Also, keep in mind, Carl has been waiting for us. He hasn't been parked. He's been doing loops around the rental place over and over and over. And the whole time I'm sweating because now it's like 9:15 and we got to be at the marina and taking off for 9:30 to go scuba diving. And that wasn't cheap to do scuba diving either. Thankfully, Carl had covered that for me, which was super nice of him, because that would have been just the most expensive day I had. So anyways, ends up he has 2,000 pesos. I got 1,000. The guy's like, that's not enough. I'm like, well, this is all we got. I'm like, we can come back later, but we gotta go. And so we eventually convinced him that we just come back later. So he just kept my license on file.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we'll come back at 5. He's like, okay, we'll see you here at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you better be there,
This
man.
isn't over, is it?
Yeah.
So we end up getting out of there, and we show up to the marina right on time. Like we left at 9:20. We got there in 10 minutes. Perfect timing.
So what's the exchange rate? I'm just curious. So you spent 3,000. What percent of that is the 280?
That would have been, well, it was 5,500 pesos.
Total.
Yeah.
Okay, so you paid just over 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
So yeah, he knew we were gonna come back. I kind of had to. I had my license on at stake here.
Yeah.
And if I left the country and didn't do that, I think that would have been a crime. So I probably wouldn't have been welcome back there.
Banned.
Yeah. Anyways, so we go scuba diving, and I'll get back to that story. But so ended up going out there, and I'd never scuba dived before. It was so fun. It was a totally different experience than what I expected. I didn't really know what to expect. I've only ever seen GoPros, and it looks cool, but like psyching your body into breathing underwater is such a wild concept.
Tell me the process. So they take you there.
Yeah.
They suit you up. Do they give you like a training?
So
like how does that work?
On the boat ride out to where we're diving, she's kind of going over, like I've suited up, like I've already done my, sized my wetsuit, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're boating out there, and she is kind of giving me all the rundown of like what's going to happen. She's giving me a little bit of idea of the hand signals. And then she's like, yeah, we'll do the test in the water, because you just have to be with a guide. You don't have to be certified or anything. So then we did she put my mask on. I hold my mask back here and then hold my thing in my mouth. And then I fall back off the boat. And then you have this like puffed up life jacket thing that has air from your tank, and then you just release it, and then you start dropping down because you have your weight belt on there as well.
Yeah.
So we did it at like 5 meters. No, not even 5 meters, probably like 3 meters down.
So you don't have to worry about any breathing
Yeah,
issues.
no.
Like,
So
you don't have to steadily go up. Or
exactly.
anything.
So so she's going over everything underwater. So she's communicating only with her hands. And so she's like, okay, do this. So she's showing me how to, if I lose my respirator out of my mouth, how to like get it. You put your arm back, you lean to the side, and then you can catch it, and it'll like be on your hand. And then you can put it back in your mouth. And then you have the backup respirator as well. And so we do all that. It's super hard to understand her underwater because she's like, you watch me. And then she like does something, and I'm like, what did she click? Like, did she do something different? And also you have to like, when you take the respirator out and hold your breath, you have to put it back in your mouth and like blow into the respirator to clear the water.
Wait, so you have to keep enough air in your lungs.
Yeah.
So what happens if you're out of air?
Well, yeah. So you have a gauge at the bottom that you can look at that tells you your PSI of how much air you have left. And at 750 PSI, we go back up.
Right.
So I start with 2,000 PSI or 3,000. I can't remember.
And how long does this last?
Lasts 35 minutes.
Okay.
So you do 2 sessions. So anyways, we do the little test or whatever, and then we end up going out there, and then yeah, dude, we start dropping down, and we're going 12 meters down, so that's 40 feet, and you get dropped off, and you start sinking down to this reef, and you can feel the current. It's crazy how much current is down below the water. You don't even realize it.
Don't think about it. Yeah.
No. And so, but this current runs all the way along the reef. Like, you don't even have to swim. You can just float there, and the current is going to take you down the entire path. It's like a roller coaster.
Bro, it's like the turtles from Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Remember that scene where
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just ripping through?
No, that's exactly what it is.
So it's
Yeah.
real. That's
It's
crazy.
real. Yeah. So we get into like the rip, and start just drifting along the current, along the reef the whole time. We didn't even have to swim at all. We obviously did. We went down and like took pictures of different things that we saw. We saw some crazy lobsters, massive lobsters, like huge, like almost 2 feet. And then huge crabs, like claws as long as my forearm.
Damn.
And then we saw a couple eagle rays. They're like stingrays pretty much, but different.
More harmless.
Yeah. And then a couple nurse sharks, which was cool. She like goes like this to me and points over there. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. Like, I'm getting attacked. And then I just see that it's
Cue
like a
the
nurse
music.
shark, and it was probably like 5 feet, that one. Pretty decent size. And then
Size of this table, would you say?
yeah, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw some crazy, and the fish too. Like, the fish are amazing. The colors on them. I saw this one fish that was just it was black bodied, but had blue neon dots on it, where it looked like it was an artificial color. Like, it was so neon. It was incredible. And there was just thousands of different ones, and some like super silly looking ones with like perked out lips and then like buck teeth and stuff like
damn.
that. Like, really weird looking fish. So yeah, then you end up like 2 miles away. I don't even know how far. Like, you
So how do you
drift
get
a
back?
while. So she shoots this like orange buoy that goes all the way up to the top, and it just like, it compresses with air and just shoots right up. And then the boat is about where he thinks where we are. And so then he sees the buoy, and then boats know not to come above us. And so then it's time to come back up, and it's the weirdest thing coming back up. You're supposed to be breathing the whole time. You constantly breathe while you come up. You don't want to be holding your breath while you're coming up, because you have just so much nitrogen in your blood. And the way she described it is like, when you shake a pop, you don't just crack the top open, or like on a bottle, you don't just quickly open it, it'll burst.
Yeah.
So what you do is you slowly open it, and it's the same effect. You slowly come up, and then we got to about 5 meters below the top, and that's where we sat there for 3 minutes, and we just like chilled there. And then we would slowly come back up. But the weirdest part was when she said go up, I didn't even have to think about going up. I didn't put any air in my vest or anything. You're not supposed to do that. All I did was think about it. I just thought about going up, and all of a sudden my body and everything just started coming up, and I was looking at her and I kept looking down. I was like, what is happening? Like, I'm not even trying to go up right now, but all I had to do is think about it, and it's just going up. And so all three of us are coming up, and Grayson said the same thing. He's the one who actually said it to me, and I was thinking it when it was happening, but he said it after. He's like, isn't it weird how you just think about going up and your body just somehow does it? And it's because you're breathing better, and that's why you're going up. And then, you sit there for 3 minutes and then come back up and wait for the boat to see you. And then he comes, picks you up, and then goes to another spot to pick up other divers. And because we had multiple divers on the boat.
Yeah.
And then we boogied to our next spot, put on a new tank. And this time my tank wasn't as full as the last time. So I had less air than they did. And so she says to me before, she's like, okay, when we're down there, I'm going to get you to breathe on my respirator for a bit, and then try and even it out so that we have the same amount of air. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, so don't be worried. And then we get down there. And that was like it. She just kind of said that, and then it was like,
you're in.
That's it.
Yeah.
So then we go down, and we're again 40 feet below, and I can see the top, but it's like up there. And then she taps me after we've been down there for like 20 minutes, and she's like, okay, put this in your mouth. And I'm like, holy shit. So I have to take mine out.
Is this the first time you've taken it out underwater?
Like that deep?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than the test,
yeah.
This is the first time it's come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can't just swim to the top if something goes wrong. Like, that's the last thing you can do. So I'm like, okay, I take a few deep breaths in. I'm like, this is going to be easy. It's all good. I remember how to do it. I just blow in, I press the button or whatever, and it shoots out the air. And so, that's exactly what happened. I take mine out. I take a deep breath in, I take mine out, and then she passes me hers. I shoot the button and blow out at the same time, and then boom, I'm on her respirator. And so I was just like attached to her from like a 3-foot like hose.
Yeah.
And so we just like kind of moved around together, and she kind of just like held me as we like went. And then eventually she's like, okay, like back to your own tank. And then same thing, breathe in, and then put hers out, put mine in. And then, another 35 minutes.
What does it feel like the first time you like breathe in, like from a tank underwater? Like, describe that. Is it just like normal?
It's, you definitely are thinking about your breathing way more.
Which kind of gets in your own head a bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like I'm good divers. They can make their tanks last way longer than me because I'm taking huge deep breaths in and then blowing out. And then I'm like my heart rate's probably at 100 while I'm down there. I'm not relaxed by any means. Because it's just foreign to me.
Yeah.
So I was breathing a lot. And then also the breaths are harder to take. So you're constantly like, you keep thinking about it and you're just taking deep breaths in, and you're actually having to like suck air more than you think of just like breathing. Normally you could just breathe normally.
Yeah.
So it is a little weird. And then also the fact that you realize you're 40 feet down and you're like, I can't just go to the top. So, definitely really weird experience, but so fun. Yeah. And now Grace and I are like, oh, should we get certified and be able to do it here? Because apparently we have some of the best scuba diving in the world.
Apparently, yeah. My dad used to do it, actually. He had his own scuba gear.
Cool.
And he'd swim around here, and and unfortunately someone stole his gear, and that's
expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap stuff. So he kind of retired from scuba at that point. But it was like a pretty cool hobby.
That's cool.
I definitely want to try it. It's on my bucket list for sure. And I feel like Mexico, they have a good system to get started. Like, try it out for the first time. The water's tropical. It's good instructors.
It's just, it's not cold. Yeah. So you get down there.
One less thing to worry about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also just like beautiful. Like there's so many fish and fish you don't see here, you know? Yeah. I'm sure there's some cool stuff in the water here, but down there, it's just stuff you would never see.
It'd be cool to do a shipwreck.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Those are cool. Yeah. Apparently she does a lot of those.
There's one here somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. Yeah. But just to imagine that when that ship went down, it could have been however long ago. And you're
sometimes they sink ships just to have like a new reef, basically.
Yeah.
So I think they did that with a massive aircraft carrier, or what was it? It was a huge boat that they sunk intentionally
To make an ecosystem.
Down below.
It's interesting.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know anything about this, but like wood can't rot underwater.
I don't know.
So in like downtown Nanaimo, there's that one restaurant, but it's like built on top of all these wooden pylons.
Yeah.
And I was always like, wouldn't the wood rot from water over time? But apparently it can't.
It probably has something to do with the oxygen.
I think exactly. Yeah, because
you'd think those posts would eventually rot because the tide comes in, comes out, and the oxygen gets to it at some points.
You'd think so, yeah. But yeah, apparently that's why. It's like oxygen's essential in the process of wood rot.
Yeah.
So if it's constantly underwater, it just
I guess
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So
at a way slower rate.
Yeah.
Probably. Just because it's not as much oxygen in the water, right?
Well, segue, if you want to ask ChatGPT,
Yeah,
it's a
true.
Great thing to check.
Let's check. I pulled this up.
Yeah, so Sean and I wanted to kind of, we did like 2 years ago, I guess now, we did, when ChatGPT first came out, we had an Island Time episode, and we were playing around with it, which was pretty cool. So we thought we'd throw it back. It's gotten a lot better in the last, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
Well, they have ChatGPT. What is it? 5 now?
4.5.
4.5. Yeah. And
then now
this
there's
is current stuff though. You can search up current stuff
for sure. And then not only that, there's other language models that are coming out now too. So OpenAI is getting a lot of competition, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
right?
it's good
because competition makes innovation.
Well, and yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot about OpenAI not being necessarily true as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not.
They'll censor a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
which is like not good because you want to be able to find out real things, and if it's censoring some things and not censoring other things, then it kind of has an agenda.
Yeah,
and you want AI to be completely transparent, right?
For sure. So the idea with more AIs, and there's this interesting story. So a lot of the US was kind of like the main AI, like a lot of AI tech was being built in the States.
Yeah.
OpenAI was the main one, but there's a few others, and they were doing fairly well. And what's interesting, and I think this is why Canada doesn't do well, is that a lot of AI was built on Canadian technology that was out of University of Toronto. So, Professor Hinton, he actually just got a what was it? What's the big award for scientists? Nobel Prize. Yeah, exactly. He just received that last year for a lot of his work on large language models and AI. And yeah, this guy's a prof at University of Toronto, and his student, a doctoral student, what's his name? Ilya, I forget his last name, but yeah, Ilya, he wrote his paper on large language models, and that was his final project under Professor Hinton for his PhD.
Wow.
And that technology, he got hired by a startup called OpenAI, and boom, there you go. And this is where Canada fails, is that a lot of this research and technology came out of Canada, but what did we get for it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Which is fair enough. In the US, there's more opportunity to start business, and it makes sense. There's more tax breaks and stuff, and that's something where I think we could do better. But yeah, I find it very fascinating that kind of the life cycle of OpenAI, and how what you said, it started as a concept where it's open source and you get more transparency between how it's built, how it's being trained, and these sort of things. And then there was some kind of drama behind the scenes. I'm not sure fully what went down. But yeah, OpenAI kind of went towards closed source and continues to go in that direction. But what is good is that we're now seeing other companies and other countries compete. Yeah. And earlier this year, a new language model came out. It's called DeepSeek. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I have heard of it,
yes.
But I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, cool. So it came out of China, and the developers claim that they spent like a fraction of the cost training that model. And it's pretty ironic because the way they did this is they trained their model based on OpenAI's data and model. So it's basically kind of using that to train itself.
Yeah.
And you can argue the ethics of you're basically stealing data, but OpenAI also stole a bunch of data to build their model in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of like a Robin Hood situation. I mean, you're stealing from the bad guys.
Well, yeah.
Is it really that bad?
But also, like, it's a tool to be used, and
Exactly.
you're bound to create more tools using this tool.
Yeah,
so.
and that's why open source is so good and the community is so good, is it fosters innovation and competition. So, anyways, DeepSeek, they built this with, I think they were much cheaper GPUs as well. So when all this was released, I can't remember the exact day, but late December, if you looked at the stock market, NVIDIA, which was the main producer of all the GPUs being used to train these models, they lost like, I think it was over $100 billion in a single day. Wow. Because people realized, damn, like people are really innovating in this space, and there's really a lot of work we have to do to improve our efficiency.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's really exciting. The more people that are in this space, the kind of the better. Fosters innovation, competition. You know, it's a free market. There's a lot of good things. But that's kind of one thing I want to talk about is like a lot of people are discussing right now, like where AI kind of can go. And a lot of people have concerns about its environmental implications of that. AI uses a lot of power.
Yeah.
It's a shit ton of power. Like, I won't pretend it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But that's where I think people are missing the point, is that it's a new technology. And if you look at technology and how it changes, there's this very similar graph that you could put. And as it gets better, it gets more efficient. And you can look at, let's just use like appliances in your house, right? I don't even remember, but my brother had this fridge that he got from...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he got from my grandmother. This fridge was from the 80s or something.
Yeah.
Right? Man was paying $400 a month for power to run this thing.
Yeah.
Within 2 months, he could have had a brand new fridge.
Yeah.
And that fridge would have used, like, I think the new one he ended up buying was using like $40 or $50 a month of power. Nothing. So this is a perfect example. As we build technology and it gets better, the efficiency also like gets a lot better. So you're going to see this trend right now. Yeah, there are some heavy power consumption things, which if we aren't aware of that, there's going to be a lot of environmental implications because of that, right? But as it gets more efficient and we see like DeepSeek and these other models that are way better, in terms of the amount of power they consume to be trained as well as to be used, as we see a trend that way, it's the same as any other technology. As it gets better and better, that will start to come down. And if there's plenty of ways to use clean energy to run these AI servers, right?
Yeah.
Like nuclear power is highly underutilized, in my opinion. It's the most clean energy there is, right?
Yeah.
It works the same way as the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other ways you can argue: solar, wind, hydropower in Canada is big. But yeah, if you're getting your power from better sources, I mean, I would argue that as we get more efficient with this tech, it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah.
So
apparently wind turbines are terrible for the environment.
I've heard that too. I don't know enough about them. I heard that it was like an ecosystem thing. Like it can disturb a lot of the ecosystem.
That, but it's mostly the disposing of them, because apparently they only last a few years.
Yeah.
And then they're broken and they don't work. And then disposing of them apparently is impossible. Like you can't get rid of these things.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
To me. But nuclear power is very clean. It's had a bit of a tough kind of history. I think it was misused in a lot of places.
Well,
there's the whole Chernobyl thing. Like, I mean, amazing TV series.
That show's
top
crazy.
tiers. And it's fairly accurate to what actually happened. So a lot of this has kind of put this like really bad reputation, or like people don't view it. And
well, I mean, the first thing I think when I hear nuclear is like nuclear power plant or bomb. And so immediately people just assume bad, not good.
Yeah,
but that's not necessarily true.
Totally. And I don't know much about science in that space, but What I do know is that the only problem with it is disposing at the end.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get rid of the
it
nuclear
lasts
waste.
years.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly.
Centuries.
It's years of clean, like completely clean energy.
Yeah. Apparently, though, it's like, I mean, there's the idea of sending it off to space, shooting it out into space. There's that idea, which would be dangerous in itself. And then there's also, they have it where, what state is it where they have that mountain that's like completely, the whole area for miles and miles is completely off limits. But they have a mountain basically where they've dug underneath this mountain, and that's where they store all the nuclear waste.
Interesting.
And it's just like no one will ever access that area.
Huh.
I know it's not like, it's kind of like a dump, but it's also, it's like a nuclear dump.
The worst dump.
It's the worst dump.
Bro, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
Need some...
what is it? Blueberry pomegranate. Shout out to Braden for getting these. Yeah.
Cheers,
wow,
man.
That was a loud one. Cheers. Folks, we will bring back convos and cocktails. I've just been lacking. It's been busy Wednesdays.
Yeah. We got to think of some creative drinks. We've tried some good ones in the past.
I got to go back through the ones that we've done.
Yeah, totally.
And then see if we can find some more new ones.
Yeah. Creative drinks, or I don't know if you've got some interesting requests at work recently or can you serve anything? Like if you can make it.
Just if we can make it, yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Have you got anything interesting that you'd like to make here? Or is it usually like people get highballs and like
some people get some crazy stuff, but like I've tried to make drinks for people that they request something and I only have some of the ingredients. I'm like, I can try and make this. But yeah, it's usually like our cocktail list, and then we have like quite a few of random ones that are super popular. And then other than that, it's like if we have the ingredients, we have it, and then we can just bring it in for you.
Yeah.
It just might be more expensive. So yeah, but I'll figure out some fun cocktails to do.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Especially if we have a guest next week.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to have. Something cool to test out. Anyways, man, the whole trajectory of AI and how that's gonna go, I'm actually kind of excited. There's been a lot of new developments on I think they're essentially cancer vaccines. And the way it works is that vaccine is manufactured specifically for you. And I don't know which organization it is, but there's one down in Victoria actually that's been doing some pretty cool research in this space. Essentially what you can do is use AI to develop a vaccine that's specific to that person and the type of cancer that they have.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but
I'm sure it's going to solve a lot of problems that we have.
Yeah, for sure. Like using AI in the medical field, I think is a big game changer. So even though there's some implications right now, I think we can get it to a place where it's super efficient and really good at helping people in need. Like, I don't know. I just feel like with all new things, it takes some time. A lot of people might have the doomsday kind of thing. They're like, oh no, AI is gonna like kind of take over or become kind of sentient on its own. But the kind of AI that we're talking about here is just one type. It's called a large language model, and it can only exist within that. Yeah. So basically the way it works is as it's generating content, it's basically predicting the next likely character, word, sentence, etc., paragraph. So that's why it seems so human, is because it's trained on human data, right? Yeah. So that's you've seen all the image generators and stuff too. Yeah, that's how they work, is that each pixel is analyzed, and then it's like, oh, what's the next most likely next pixel based on the data I've trained on. It's a very simple way of explaining it, but that's how it works.
Makes it easier for people to understand.
Yeah.
Well, let's do some examples. I'm just going to run to the bathroom real quick. We're going to pause, and then we'll do some examples.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, let's give it a test, Shawnee. Let's see what we can come up with. So last time we were playing around with this was a few years ago on the pod. And I think the first question is what we were talking about earlier is why doesn't wood rot underwater? I think it's something to do with oxygen, but let's actually find out.
So we can get that out of the way, because it's going to be, why doesn't wood rot underwater? Wood doesn't rot as quickly underwater because the conditions in aquatic environment limit the growth of fungi and bacteria that cause wood to rot. So here's why: lack of oxygen, cold temperatures, preservation of by tannins, limited microbial activity, and so on.
Cool.
So yeah,
So we were kind of right.
you're kind of right. Lack of oxygen is a big one.
Nice.
Many of the microorganisms that cause decay need oxygen to survive. In underwater conditions, oxygen levels can be low, especially if the water is deeper or stagnant. Without oxygen, these decomposers cannot thrive.
Huh. Cool.
Have you ever seen that? I've read comments about people like, I'll see a video of someone jumping into still water, and the comments are like, "Yeah, you should not be doing that."
Why?
Because there's this in still water, these bacteria grow, and it gives you this like, it gets into your ears, and it gives you this terrible like brain eating disease.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I wish I didn't know
that. Why is still water dangerous?
Well, I know
swim
there's a lot of mosquito eggs and things like this. And like lake water is usually not very clean because first of all, there's no movement. It's very stagnant, and there's no salt. So bacteria can grow much easier.
Yeah. So it says bacterial growth without the movement of water, bacteria and other pathogens can multiply quickly, especially in warm environments. Stagnant water can harbor harmful microorganisms like E. coli, Giardia, and other waterborne diseases that can lead to infections or illnesses if ingested or if they come into contact with open wounds. Yeah,
no, that's nasty.
Yeah, not good. So if you're ever thinking about jumping into let's just say a cave, this is the video that I saw. Some guy did some crazy backflip into a cave, like swimming pool pretty much, and it was all still water, and all the comments were like, "Yeah, you're gonna regret that in a few years."
Damn.
Yeah, so don't do that.
Crazy. And that kind of water looks the most appetizing too.
Well, yeah, it looks like
it's
perfect,
calm,
like
clean, blah blah
yeah.
blah. Yeah.
But it's
Interesting.
the worst.
Yeah, crazy. All right, let's put it to the test. Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking a lot of people don't utilize AI that I've seen to its full potential. So these AIs are trained on a vast amount of data. And you were actually talking about earlier how OpenAI, sometimes it's censored in some ways. And I think the engineers try to do their best job. I mean, they're being told there's obviously political influence. It doesn't matter like where you go. If you use DeepSeek's AI on their servers,
there's Grok.
Yeah, if you use DeepSeek's AI on their servers, there's going to be it's Chinese, so there's different laws there that they don't want to show certain content.
Yeah.
Right? And the same with AIs that exist in the States. Yeah. But the difference is with DeepSeek, you can actually download their model and run it on your own computer. And when you do that, it's not censored. It's the full training. So it'll give you exactly based on the data it was trained on, which is pretty cool. The only thing is you can add a whole nother layer to this is if it was trained based on OpenAI's data, those policies are naturally going to kind of transfer over. And I don't know if people know this, but back when ChatGPT 3, or I think it was 3, when it first came out, it was their first public model. It was a little unhinged. Yeah. Like it would say things that it would like hallucinate a lot, which means it would just basically say fake stuff. Yeah. And then it would also be like pretty unhinged with its comments because it was trained on like Twitter data, for example. Yeah. Where people say all sorts of nonsense. Yeah. Right.
It also, you could trick it into saying things that you wanted it to say.
Back then, people called it like jailbreaking the AI. Yeah. Where you would try to move it outside of its confines. Yeah. People would make it play different characters or all sorts of crazy stuff, which is pretty interesting. And these models have gotten a lot better since then, but the parameters that they exist in have also gotten a lot better along with it. So it's pretty hard to do that kind of stuff now. But yeah, I still haven't done it myself, but I want to download DeepSeek and see kind of how it works. in comparison. So if people haven't used it, definitely check it out. It's open source.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, if you're using the app or the website, it's hosted in China. So long as you're fine with, you don't care about your data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've got it anyway.
Yeah.
If you have TikTok, they've got it.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But yeah, comparing these models and like seeing how they handle different things. A big one that I recommend to people that haven't used a lot of this tech yet is to make it understand who you are first, as well as what you want it to be in relation to you. Right. So let's just use a hypothetical situation. Sean, you're trying to produce podcast content, right? So first of all, it should try to understand Sean as a person first, what you value, what you do, what you want to kind of create. And then you assign the role for that is kind of like a marketing or specialist to some like experienced professional in that field. And if you can kind of combine those two things together, its outputs can be quite powerful and quite like it can really guide you in the right direction of how you produce and do content. I see sometimes people fall into the trap a little too far. And they're just doing everything based on the AI, and they're losing their creativity a little bit. Yeah. But if you can kind of combine the two, it's insane what you can come up with. I've used AI quite a bit for coding. Actually, not this one. It's called Claude. Claude 3.7 just came out recently, and you can use Claude to write code, and it's basically like having like, I don't know, essentially unlimited junior developers just at your disposal instantly. Yeah. You can, like, if you know how to code and you use AI correctly, it's pretty powerful, man. Yeah. Like, I'm really curious what some of the big firms are doing, like, behind the scenes and how they're using it to kind of develop some of their tech. But, yeah, it's like...
Well, do you want to talk about what you're designing right now?
Yeah, so I've been playing around with... it's called... Cursor. Cursor's it's called a coding IDE. Yeah. And they've integrated different models into their platform, and I've been experimenting with building apps with that by having it write a large percentage of the code. So I kind of like would give it this analogy. It's like you have a puzzle, right? Like 100 pieces, and this app has all these different parts. And what you do is you have the AI models craft each piece, but then you're still assembling the puzzle. So right now I'm kind of experimenting with building a real estate app, and it's kind of exciting. I don't want to kind of go into full depth of how I'm doing it, but it's pretty inspiring what you can do when you have the AI work in this kind of form, right? It's saving you so much time. Instead of having to build that entire picture, you just have to get each piece made and then you assemble it as the engineer. Yeah. So I mean, and I'm just using it at a very I would say a very elementary. I feel like its potential is so much more.
100%.
And that kind of comes back to some of the stuff like cancer vaccines and all sorts of crazy stuff. Like I think
for sure
we're just getting started kind of in this field.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's going to be so advanced here soon. Like
no, absolutely.
Incredibly advanced. By 2030, it's going to be like unrecognizable. And that's really good. I mean, people are afraid that AI is going to take over. Like, I mean, it's kind of inevitable at this point for AI to be the smartest thing that we've ever created and then it be smarter than us. I was listening to a podcast with Elon Musk, and he said that by 2029, AI will probably be smarter than every single human mind combined. So at that point, it's like we can't even be afraid of it anymore. It's like not being afraid of something that you can't control, because realistically, there's nothing that we can do. What it's going to come down to is putting in the right policies and laws to how we use it and how far it can go. But at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do. So we might as well just use it as a tool. And I think that's what we're at. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's also going to have, that's the negative side. The positive side is there's going to be so many cures for so many different diseases and stuff. Like, think about all the manual labor people used to have to do and all the problems they would have to solve because they didn't have AI to be able to just solve it. Yeah. Like you said, building the pieces for the puzzle, that takes so much labor and man hours to actually do. Whereas you can just have that build it all for you, and then all you got to do is put it together.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
just
man. It
saves so much time.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna get quicker and quicker.
I was reading
pump out
on
vaccines.
I was reading online kind of specifically about this too, and even like doctors are saying like how good AI is at diagnosing people. Like it's like scarily good sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So we can't fully rely on it yet because
Yeah.
it's not approved for medical use, but realistically, like you could do it and it's probably going to be right.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's been trained on all this stuff, right? So the same way when someone goes to med school, they learn all the diseases, all the drugs, how you can treat different things, how the human body works, tons of stuff. That's why it takes so long. It takes, 20 years plus to finish all this, right? But the AI has consumed all that same information. So when you give it the right data points,
Yeah.
it's pretty damn good at diagnosing.
100%. And you see, I mean, a lot of doctors, they'll literally just be Google searching stuff to figure out what's going on, because they did go to medical school for 4 years, but the human mind can't retain every single little thing and every disease and every single cure to everything. So what's the harm in having AI help out if it's already learned all this stuff?
Yeah.
This person has this problem and this problem. I haven't dealt with this problem ever in my career, or it's been 20 years since I've done it. What do you think is going on? And then maybe it triggers something in their mind.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Exactly. For me, it's just an insanely powerful tool.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter where you work. If you're not using this as a tool to make your job more efficient or faster, like for me, like when you're looking to hire people and doing job interviews, like a lot of people are fighting back, and you can see this in the post-secondary space actually a bit too as well. It's like people are like, oh, AI is cheating. They're not proving that person's actual knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like, yeah, you can easily I could just go on there and ask it to write me an essay on something I have no concept about right now, and it'd do a pretty dang good job. Like it'd be like maybe probably even master's level, right? Writing. But what I see is that this is a tool to accomplish things more efficiently, and there's other ways we can do to basically understand someone's knowledge or understanding of a concept.
Yeah.
So like if you use the post-secondary model as an example, essays were largely a form how professors would grade students' learning outcomes for the last 100 years. It's just been a common thing. You write or type out a paper, and it explains your ideas and thought process, and it kind of proves your understanding of the concept that you're arguing. But now with AI, you can pump that out at a very high level very fast.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to shift. We can't say don't use AI because it's unpoliceable. You can't, these AI detectors and stuff, they're like so like pseudoscience. Like, yeah, AI does write in a very particular way, but you can also train the model to write differently too.
Yeah.
If you're smart, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way to police. There's going to be AI detectors that detect legit content that's, and vice versa. It's going to go both ways. So what we have to do is kind of go down a path of where we're learning how to get students still acquiring the learning outcomes, and how we acknowledge those learning outcomes is a different way. So a great example that's the most simple one is if you have to present on a topic or just public speak on a topic, you can't,
Yeah, you can't just bullshit your way through it unless
Exactly.
you're really good at lying. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
But
you
for
have
the
to know
most,
the topic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that whole concept of that kind of solves that, because if you're speaking to a topic or if you understand a topic, you'll be able to say whatever about it. And people will be able to know right away if you have a high enough
100%.
level understanding.
Yeah.
So that's a simple one, but there's so many other ways through different creative projects or encouraging people to do work that will show that they know and understand. So we have to use AI as a tool. The more we fight back, the more it's going to cause problems. And it's like goes back to my point earlier in our conversations, like technology grows over time. It gets better and better. And you can even see when spell check first came out, people would have been like, oh, you can't use spell check. That's not good. It's cheating.
Yeah.
And then eventually we got to the point where it's like, you better spell check.
Yeah.
Or what are you doing?
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So it's going to follow the similar.
It should, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It will.
Yeah.
There's no other
must,
option, in my opinion.
I don't know. It just seems like it seems like a lot of unnecessary time going into things then at that point.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not using these tools and you're going back through books and reading nothing wrong with that, but reading old history books just to find a specific part of the book to reference when, like, it's so much time wasted when you could easily just find that using AI. And I get it's the easier way, but like, why wouldn't we use that? You know,
I'll give you the perfect analogy. I guarantee back in the day when Henry Ford presented the car, there were people like, you guys suck. I'm going to use my horse. Screw that. That's cheating, man. You have an animal. You keep the animal. The animal enjoys this relationship of transportation. There's probably a ton of people with that, and we're against cars.
Yeah.
And then eventually people started understanding, hey, wait, this tool is a necessity of life.
Yeah.
Roads were built, traffic 100%. Rules, blah, blah, blah. And eventually it just took over society. And now that's our primary form of transport.
Yeah.
Right? And who knows if that lasts forever. But with tech, it always will go through this cycle of change. And some people won't be on board right away, but eventually they'll come around. It's normal. We continuously see it.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing will happen here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think it'll be positive. I think it's more than likely, I think it's a high percentage that AI is going to be successful. Yeah. And it's not going to be the demise of us.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we have things to look forward to. Yeah. And if you have loved ones that suffer from something, who knows? Maybe that they can find some sort of cure for it or whatever.
For sure.
Using this. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, last kind of discussion point, only because I think a good aspect for me of the pod is to kind of remember moments in time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend too much time on sports today, but say it today. Do you think Canucks make the playoffs or not? Oof. Make your prediction.
So today the Canucks played Calgary Flames. They both have, I guess, 71 points now. And they're tied. Mm-hmm. 6, I can't remember. 71 points, I think. So they're tied with 17 games to play, and Canucks are just below them because they have one more loss than them. I really want them to make playoffs. I really do. I don't know. I don't think Calgary goes on a run. I think we can beat Calgary. I think we make playoffs, but I think we have a first round exit. Okay. Yeah.
That's a good prediction. I think we make playoffs, second wild card spot. We beat Calgary by 2 points. That's my prediction. So yeah, let's come back to this.
Okay.
However many.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, the Formula One season starts this weekend. I'm super stoked. Wore the Ferrari shirt. I want to make a prediction for this too, because it's a whole year. It's going to be a whole year from now, basically, when we know. And I'm going to say it now. I think Lando Norris is going to win the WDC. So
all right,
let's hope and pray. But
you're betting against, what's his name?
I'm betting against Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen. Isn't he just like, he probably has the highest odds.
Yeah, he has pretty high odds this season. Red Bull's kind of going down and McLaren's going up, but he's such a good driver that anything could happen.
Yeah.
I'd still say he's probably favored to win. Yeah. He's won 4 in a row, so
I can't imagine the AI those guys are using to design those cars.
Yeah, true.
Oh my God.
It's another thing too.
Those cars are crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how from one year to another it can there's some huge breakthrough, you know? Yep.
Yeah, it's engineering. It's awesome.
Because for a while Mercedes was just destroying everybody. And they had just the best design. And then they made it where you couldn't spend, they have a cap on how much you can spend, right?
A cap, yeah. Because it was unfair for teams that were, like Mercedes or Red Bulls or these teams. Yeah. They have a lot more money. Ferrari, right? Williams, these guys, they don't have as much to spend. So if you even the playing field, and that's why they added salary cap in NHL
makes
and other
sense.
sports.
No,
I think baseball is one of the only sports without it.
Yeah.
And that's why you just see the Yankees Boston Red Sox, all these teams are always killing it.
Yeah.
Because they can just buy the best LA Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with free agencies, because free agencies are different than trades. Trades can be vetoed. Trades can be vetoed. But like with free agencies, a player can sign wherever they want for as much money as they want.
Exactly.
But NBA, you gotta, there's a little bit of sacrifice. Same with NHL. I don't know who it was. It might have been. Was it LeBron? No, I don't think it was LeBron. LeBron loves money. He's got so much of it. There was a big star that took a huge pay cut just so that they could get another good player so that they could have a better chance at winning, which is exactly what you want to see in a team. You want to see someone who's willing to take a hit for the team so that they can win what they all desire, and that's the championship. Like, why else are you playing?
Yep.
Yeah,
you see sometimes it's not the most talented players that win in NHL. It's the most like the rosters that have the most spread out talent.
Yeah.
Where it's not, they don't have like crazy, they have still star players, but they're not like the McDavids, right?
Well, look at Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of people from random teams that all came together, and they didn't win their first season, but they were pretty close.
Made it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were all the throwaways.
Yeah. They were all the throwaways.
So,
but they just had one goal and they didn't quite get
you
there.
You have nothing to lose.
There.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty fascinating. But we made some predictions. We'll come back in a little while and see what happens. I think this format is pretty cool for this kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do more AI things next time. But for now, I think it's a good place to leave it. Keep the podcast a little shorter. When it's just us two talking, it's nice to just get the content out there, have an hour podcast or something. But when we have our guests on, we want to be picking their brains. Hafiz has got a lot to say, and same with Bruce. And then, our other guests that we have lined up, we just want to be able to pick everybody's brains. So
yeah, there's a lot of talent out there, and the more we can talk to, the better.
Super informational.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, sweet. All right, well, thank you everybody for listening, staying with us this long, and we will see you next week. Peace out.